What's up, good peoples? This is MaxLa'Rue Speaks. I'm your host, MaxLa'Rue. In today's topic, we'll be discussing the state of fashion. Yeah, this will be a broad topic because this is just only my opinion, and it's just only really like and a very objective opinion. So this is nothing by law. You know what I mean? It's just something that just I'm just looking from my perspective of where I see fashion at and where I see it's heading to. So my first initial thought about today's fashion, it varies from a lot of different aspects of what I like and what I the do's and the don'ts rather. There's some things in fashion where I'm looking like a little cringy, and there's a lot of things in fashion where I'm looking like that's bold, that's dope. I like the concept. I like the way y'all brought that together, and I just think it's just a real beautiful thing when I see that part of fashion going where it's supposed to be going. You know, the things what I dislike is is the crossing of the fashion. Where when I mean by crossing, as far as in like the gender crossing in fashion. You know what I mean? Where I'm starting to see a little more feminized um, things that I'm starting to see that's starting to go into fashion where guys are getting a little more sheer shirts and a little. I mean, I guess Lenny Kravitz made that dope. You know what I mean? But there's only so many people that can pull that off. Without maybe Dennis Rodman, you know, what I mean, maybe the rebels, like the rebel type of attitude. I don't know, but those the purse type deal, I know they call it a satchel or whatever, but it's just different things where I feel like the clutch, even the clutch, cats come in with the clutch now, you know what I mean? But I guess that's just me, you know, I guess there's an age gap in that as well too. So I can be biased on that side of the fence as well. I guess maybe that's just me, showing a bit of my age in some areas where I feel like the get off my lawn type old man type deal. But I'm no, I'm no I'm not offended by it. I just have my opinion about it. You know what I mean? So that's just my opinion. I just feel like those are some of the things I just can deal without with the fashion, but I'm not knocking it. You know what I mean? To each his own. That's always the way I look at things. You know what I mean? If you feel comfortable with it, if you're wearing a bow, maybe you can pull it off with it. You know what I'm saying? It just all depends the way a person just kind of swag the whole look, you know. So but for me initially, just like a no-go for me. Um, Now, where I will want to say what I'd like to transition into as far as in fashion part of it is that I do like the different type of different layering. Okay. The different layers of fashion. You know what I'm saying? How people like, cross a certain layer with another type of layer, maybe like a mock neck sweater, and they just put like some type of something I just never see that can go together. That I wouldn't think that would go together. And somehow somebody makes it work. I can't think off the rip right now exactly what that look is. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think. I'm trying to really gather my thought. Um, so I could get kind of like paint the picture for you guys. Like I see somebody with like a double vest, like like a jean vest under a bubble vest. What maybe a jean vest, then a bubble vest, then like a long sleeve type of sweater or like a mock neck. You know what I mean? Like kind of like the grungy look or something. You know what I mean? So I like the way that looks. It just depends how you layer it. You have to layer it a very specific way, and it has to be dope. You know what I mean? It can't be one of them things like where it's like Nah, I don't know where you was going with that look. You know what I mean? So it has to be something that's like you gotta have an eye. You kind of gotta know what you're doing when you do the layering type of look. Um, so that's just one example of what I would say. What I like about the state of fashion, and I also like the fact that they're starting to mix a lot of different things that, in particularly, wasn't really a fashionable thing. I see a lot of Carhartt starting to be a big thing. Like people just wear that to work. You know what I mean? That was just a work, just a work life type deal. But now it's really a thing. Like a Carhartt then broke the walls of fashion. Now what I mean. It was first just strictly off the work. And I guess that's how Timberland started too. You know what I mean? So like the Timberland boot, it was just a particular work boot. Even I want to say, what's that? Oh, I'm drawing a blank right now. What's the other boot? Well, right now, Timberland. So, that was one of the things right there, Like it wasn't particularly like a fashion thing. It was just like a work boot. People just go to work and just roll with that. So, that's just one of those are a couple of examples that I was thinking of, and I was like just like thinking like the state of fashion, like what do I like? I really don't have a pro and a con. I just have my biased opinion about it. Like I said, it ain't too many things I dislike, but it ain't. But I will say it's a plethora of things that I do like. I mean, I just like the way the fashion is going, and it's very inspiring. I'm living in a time where fashion today is very inspiring to me because I like different. I'm gonna name a few like designers that I do like that really inspire me to like just keep really going. Kith. I just like the way this guy just put material together, and big shout out to Kith. You know what I mean, Ronnie. So I don't know anybody, none of these guys personally. I'm just throwing a shout out. I just kind of just did my homework and just kind of look at they whole the way the way they brought things together, with their fashion. So I like the way he's very meticulous about his materials. Um, he does a lot of knitting things, and he just like he takes the material of what he put together. He takes it very serious. I like anybody that's really like not just spewing stuff out, but just really meticulous and very anal about what they put out. You know what I mean? Because it shows to me, and it shows with your creation. It shows with your brand. You know, of course, Ralph Lauren. That's all time right there. He's just a test of time. I guess he's like the godfather of it for me. When it comes down to the fashion, he's a fashion icon. So Kith, Ralph Lauren, just to name two. Well, I got another one. Amiri, he got some dope things too. That's pretty nice. That's another guy who takes his stuff very serious. He got some dope things that's really just landing out. And what else I want to think of? I got to pull out one more name. Um, Tremaine. What's this guy? What's this guy? He got the cotton wreath. I'm drawing such a blank right now. But anyway, it'll come to me. But like I said, pause. But like I said, these are the things that motivate me into, say just broaden my fashion point of view, my eye, my because I think when you get into fashion, you can't just have one perspective the way you see things. You have to have a broad view of the way you look at things and just the world too. I mean, I think you got to have a outlook the way you see people. You kind of got to be like a people observer. You know what I mean? You got to observe the fashion, man. I mean, because fashion changed. this is a very fleeting business. You know what I mean? I'm not even like a toe deep in it. You know what I mean? I'm really just testing the waters right now. So, but from what I did as far as my homework and just what I see for myself, it just like, well, I can just see how fashion, it takes a twist, it takes a turn, it goes to the retro side, then it goes right down, the flare out jeans back out, then it go back out, then it, you know what I mean? So it just recycles. You know, there's a timeline of when fashion recycles, and then it goes out and it comes back in. You know what I mean? And I think that just really all depends on the person who's bold enough to emulate that look. You know what I mean? And who's bold enough to just recreate a look, you know, and make it hot and make it really dope. You know what I mean? I just think you got to be a certain type of individual to say, hey, this is what we're doing now. You know what I mean? So, and I respect that. I salute, you know, cats that can pull it. You know what I mean? So, that's also another inspiring thing to me. But like the state of fashion, I think it's in a good place. I love it. Like I said, I think I'm living in a time right now, in the era of now, where I think fashion is really taking a good. It's going up. You know what I mean? It's not going down. You know what I mean? I think fashion is going, and a lot of people is getting more into it, as I see. You know what I mean? Like it's really a thing. Like, you know, every every walk of life. You know, you have NBA players. I see how they take their fashion. Football players, like everybody's. I mean, all from the sports arena, from you name it. White collar people, blue collar people. You know what I mean? I think everyone is really taking a real, a new look and a new grip on fashion. Pause. And I think it's here to stay. You know what I mean? Even after my life. You know what I mean? So we're living in a real interesting time of fashion. So that's just my, that's my thing. That's the way I look at fashion. I think the state of fashion is in a good rightful place, and I think it'll be here to make more noise and knock down some more barriers and more doors. So that's my whole spiel for today on that, and I greatly appreciate you guys coming out. You know what I'm saying, checking out the content. Till the next time, MaxLa'Rue speaks. Appreciate you.